Welcome to the Project Vanguard podcast, home of the community of veterans in energy, where we explore the journeys of veterans leading in energy. We're building American energy dominance through an all-the-above approach, where energy security is national security. And our mission is to double the amount of veterans working in the energy industry. I'm your host, Kevin Doffing. Today's guest is Tim Sabean, a former Marine Corps Osprey pilot who just landed his first civilian role at Bechtel. Bechtel is one of the largest engineering construction firms in the world. Tim didn't just leave the cockpit. He jumped into the biggest lithium mining project in American history. Now he's helping stand up domestic supply chains critical to our national security. After flying tilt rotors for the Marines and instructing new pilots, Tim charted a different path than most of his peers. He earned a master's in sustainable energy from Johns Hopkins, took a bet on the private sector, and joined Bechtel's mining and metals division. Just as construction began on Thacker Pass, a first-of-its-kind lithium clay mine here in Nevada. In this episode, we talk about why clean energy needs more veterans, what it's like jumping from the military into multi-billion-dollar infrastructure builds, and how Project Vanguard helped Tim find his next mission. We also dive into the mindset of a transitioning service member, what the civilian workforce gets wrong about veteran skill sets, and why speed, trust, and mission focus still matter, no matter what uniform you wear. If you're wondering how to go from the military to the energy industry, or what it looks like to serve your country by building America's energy future, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Tim, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
You're acclimating to corporate America. You got the post, transition beard.
Yeah, and my new clothes and all that. So it's all good, you know.
I love that when you leave the service, you're just like, look at me. I'm not wearing the same thing every day.
Yeah, it takes some effort in the morning. So
you have now fashion decisions to make.
Yeah, not very good, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in, how do you pick which is your favorite cami? As a Marine,
whatever one's on top. I wore flight suits, so they're all the same, like faded, not faded. It was a really tough choice.
Yeah. No, I like this decision-making criteria. So
yeah,
for anyone who doesn't know you, where are you at now?
Yeah, I'm at Bechtel. For those really not in the industry, it's the largest EPC, which is engineering, procurement, construction. Really, Bechtel's motto is like, we build things, right? They always talk about their history. They built the Hoover Dam, kind of started with that. And now they branch into really infrastructure projects, energy, nuclear is a big one. And then I'm in the mining and metals. So a lot of mines globally. And now we're kind of focusing on lithium mine in America, which is huge. It's the largest lithium deposit recorded globally, and it's right here in America. So
yeah, it's like the Saudi Arabia of lithium, right?
Yeah. It's a huge project. The supply chain for lithium is right there in Reno. So it's a really good starting point for domestic lithium, especially with the EVs, rolling out, becoming more impressive. And then battery storage is like the next thing, as we all know. But
yeah, I mean, you get into long duration or even medium duration, you firm up wind and solar, and suddenly you have, a better power plant. They're all, just power plants, but now we have these firmed up ones. So
yeah.
What has been your experience? Have you been on site yet?
No, I haven't been on site yet. I mean, they've really just started construction as I got on board, but I've seen pictures of it. If you've ever been to northern Nevada, there's not much there. It's really only mining, but it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But they got the whole site laid out. They're pouring concrete. We're just working on design and just pushing through. So I think one thing I didn't take into consideration is how long it takes to build these projects. Like, I got on board. I'm like, oh, lithium mine. Like, when's it going to be ready? A year or two? Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, listen, that's fast. I mean, imagine if you were working on nuclear.
Yeah.
When's this going to be ready? Decade or so, you might still be working here.
Yeah. But it's, seeing all the work that's been done leading up to now it's like, all right, we got the plan. Let's refine it. We got the budget. Let's get all the people there and rock and roll. So it's pretty exciting.
And how long you been at Bechtel now?
Just a little over 2 months. So I can't believe 2 months has gone by. I think it is faster than I expected. I think all, veterans expect the civilian world is just not doing anything, and it's a lot slower. And I was definitely one of those. The grass is always greener, and then I show up here, and it's just everything's happening really, really fast. So
Did you just imagine civilians standing around with their hands in their pockets and you're just going to be like, gonna
yeah,
walk by these guys really fast?
yeah, I thought it'd be golfing more, but we don't have time for that.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So before this, what were you doing that was keeping you busy?
Yeah. So I was an Osprey pilot in the Marine Corps.
Hmm.
The last 3 years I was at the training squadron. So life was really, it was a really good set of orders I got. Before that, I was in the fleet, and I was in North Carolina the whole time, which was pretty unique. It was good. I mean, I go from flying the Osprey to instructing the brand new kids to all of a sudden showing up to a lithium project, and it's quite the career jump. Especially a lot of my peers when they were getting out, they're just hopping over the airlines and transitioning one skill to just another plane.
Yeah.
And here I am doing budgets, scheduling, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, your lowest unemployment historically is in places where you can move directly into aerospace and defense,
yeah,
right? So, like parts of Phoenix or Seattle, places where you have major defense contracting installations or, manufacturing, Lockheed, Raytheon, etc. And just for everybody who's asking themselves about why are you flying a bird, describe an osprey to everyone that doesn't already know.
I mean, it's the best of both worlds. It's a plane and a helicopter, right? We can land anywhere. We can fly 240 knots. So we got the distance of a turboprop plane that can do what a helicopter does. And it was really like the most fun experience flying that thing, especially as you get more experience and you start teaching the new guys how to do it and seeing how quickly they can learn. I was like, all right, this is an awesome platform, and this is the future of aviation. It was a good experience. I mean, a lot of great people in that community. I can't say anything bad about it.
Yeah, I feel like a osprey is if I asked my 6-year-old to draw everything they would want in something that can fly, that's what they would end up drawing. Plus with like, some like palm trees on it and, a rocket pack.
It kind of looks like a couple palm trees when it folds up and everything. So
I love that. Now, how did you end up deciding on this industry and how'd you get into this?
yeah, I mean that's a long story that happened really fast, but and I think everyone gets to that point when, hey, I'm going to end my military service, start to think what's next. And some people, that happens. They have weeks to decide, and other people like me, I think I made that decision about a year and a half, 2 years, down the road. I gave myself plenty of time, right? And I started looking at career. I knew the airline industry wasn't really for me. I had some friends do it, and they're very successful and they love it, but something about it wasn't my cup of tea. So I started looking back into, my undergrad, what interested me back then. Was it business stuff? Not really. I was studied engineering and, started looking more into which sort of management skill set I could use in an industry. And I started looking at the job market and simple Google search of which industry is growing the fastest. And this was in 2022, right? Right around when the IRA passed. And sure enough, clean energy was kind of skyrocketing. So from there, I started looking into graduate degrees, right? And I think that's something that if any vets out there who are kind of unsure of where they're going to go, start looking at degrees. MBAs are great, right? That's just
Mhm.
kind of the drone, especially if you can get to one of those top 10 schools. I looked for something a little bit more specific, something not only relatable, but something that I can do full time with one kid at the time and one more on the way. So Johns Hopkins had a kind of a newer sustainable energy program, and it was a lot faster pace than I expected. They lay it out, hey, you're going to take one course 8 weeks at a time. You're just going to keep going through. You're going to have the same cohort the whole time. It's going to be great. And what I didn't really take into account was like one class ended on Sunday, Monday, next class started. So did that for 2 years, just wrapped up, just graduated last week.
Oh, I thought you graduated
So
before you got into the Bechtel role.
no, no, I,
Oh God.
yeah, dude, the last 2 months have been absolutely nuts, especially once I got the job, my motivation just went
Yeah,
really,
yeah. Senioritis kicks in.
yeah, but it was great. It was such a good experience. I mean, I think if you're looking for a grad school program, if you can find something like that where you're going to know, the same 25 people for 2 years and you get to work with them and network with them, it was such a good experience. And lo and behold, there was another vet in my class. I think you met him, Dwayne.
Yeah, Dwayne.
So it was just like, man, it is a small world and I'm not that crazy for doing this transition. So yeah. And that's from there, I got my degree, then I could start seeing what's out there. And we talked a lot about, renewable energy and where that's going. And then we started getting into lithium supply chain and how that's kind of slowing things down if it's not done correctly.
We'll go back. So, you mentioned Dwayne, and remind me how you pronounce his last name.
Rook.
Okay. Because I always want to say Roach. So both you and Dwayne strike me as cut from the same cloth in that you're in a sustainability program, but you're not tree huggers, right? Like he works on the oil and gas side at his company, but both driven with real sincere interest in the industry. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I know both of us kind of look at it like a more realistic view for the energy sector as a whole. You can't ignore that oil and gas is probably not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think
Right.
so.
You can't ignore that. So how can you make energy more available and kind of a freedom of choice? There's some aspects of the industry where oil and gas, unfortunately, is like the only option right now. We talked a lot about data centers, right? And these tech companies are funding nuclear power plants and, 3 Mile Island's the big one, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So like, what are you going to use in its place? Right. So
Right. Speed to market.
yeah, that's just the reality of it. And I think him and I, both as vets, we take the politics out of it. That's the first step. Once you take that out and you just start to see how the market's going, seeing what makes sense, and again, just having that freedom of choice for whatever energy source you'd like is kind of how I see it anyway. And I'm sure Dwayne can probably explain it in his own views. I mean, he lives in Alaska, so his options are limited and probably sees it more real time. But what I really like when I first got to Texas, we picked our utility. Texas has like an option database. North Carolina was you're stuck with Duke Energy and whatever they give you is what you got. Here it was kind of like, wow, I can go 100% renewable. I can go 50-50 or none at all. And that's what I'd like to see everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Free market's a hell of a thing.
yeah. Just if you go all clean energy and you have zero emissions, that's the added benefit. That should be the goal.
So go back, I mean, because you're doing this while you're still in. Like most people will take a break post service to take a knee, kind of recenter, and you decided, nah, I just want to double up on my workload. Like, why did you decide to do that instead of taking a break for a year or two?
I think if I could go back, I wouldn't do it the way I did. So when I decided I was going to get out, we just had our firstborn. He was 6 months, and I was like, "I got a baby. We're starting our family. Let's settle down." And then I got into like the realization I won't have a job in a year and a half. So honestly, I started to panic a little bit, and all right, let's get this degree, use the GI Bill. By the time I get out, I'll have a master's degree. That was kind of the thought process. Had another kid halfway through the course, and then like, oh, I had a year to get out, started trickling down to months, and then 6 months from getting out, I was like, I need a job. So it was more of a rush and a panic and an impulse decision. If I could go back and could spin it where I get out, start my graduate degree, that time I think would have been really nice. I mean, it all worked out. Don't get me wrong. If you do it the way I did, just be prepared. But if I could tell myself 2 years ago, just get out one step at a time, do it. Because I think I didn't consider with the GI Bill, you can get BAH. I didn't really use that enough. I didn't think I needed it. I thought, the way it happened is exactly what I hoped for. But looking back, I could have used that time to, just go to college and be a college student for 2 years, and then the job will come. And I didn't really consider like the job market for us. Like people do want vets. You just got to find the right niche and you'll be fine.
So what resources did you use along that pathway of like deciding which school programs and, sourcing your career?
I mean, school, the first thing I did was make sure they had the GI Bill and a yellow ribbon program because I didn't want to pay for school. Speaking to some of my classmates on how expensive it was, I was kind of felt bad. But the yellow ribbon program, if you can find a school that supports that, it'll cover anything extra that the GI Bill doesn't. So that was step one, right? Online program obviously was kind of nice. We had a couple residency periods, which were good to meet with the rest of the cohort, but that was kind of my filter for my search. And then the other resources I used, I went to a job fair, the Service Academy Career Conference. So if you have that network, you can go to that. It's like $100 and you get to meet with all sorts of employers, and they do it year round. And that's pretty much how I got my resume in front of Bechtel's recruitment team. Then once I got, I'm applying for this job, here's my resume. Then you and I got linked up. This is back in like October, November. And that was really where the real work came, because you started, hey, here's 20 people, here's the companies they work for. And I was like, whoa, okay, here we go. And I did my own research, and it was really great. There was definitely a couple of people from Bechtel that I talked to, and they really gave me their honest opinion, both vets, and just said, here's the good, here's the bad, here's why I've stayed here for 20 plus years.
Yeah. I mean, no company's perfect. So like you just got to pick what you want.
Yeah. And, once I met all these people, and then I talked to some other folks, and I asked them, hey, what's your opinion about Bechtel? There's this job that, I'm trying to get, and the reputation is huge with this company. So they all had nothing but good things to say. I mean, there's another job that I really was interested in, and someone like talked me out of it. So there's that aspect too. And that was kind of before Project Vanguard started really catching speed. And now we have all these channels to talk to people. So it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I think you're a good example of, what was Project Vanguard like before we started the Slack channel, before we had ways for people to just self-navigate through this peer-to-peer network that we've built. And that way you don't have to wait on someone like me, and you get more voices and more points of connection inside of this. So you can meet folks like Darren or Jasper. I always say, like, Project Vanguard isn't here to get you a job. We're here to get you a screening call, right? Like, get in with somebody at the company who can just nudge HR and say, like, we should give them a call. And from there, it's on you, right? And that's where you're doing what you did, finding out more things about the company, getting involved. I want Project Vanguard to help you cut through the noise and get out of the black hole of like just throwing things into the vastness of the internet and never hearing anything back, but just get a call. And then from there, learn what you need and be able to dial back in. So, aside from talking to the guys at Bechtel, some of the conversations we had, how else have you been able to use that community as you've gone through this whole journey?
I mean, just seeing what other people are doing has been really helpful too. Cause I mean, I think you told me when we first talked, networking doesn't stop. Like, you get your job, that's not the finish line. Like, you still got to build your network, continue your career development, and pay attention to what's happening in the world. Because I've noticed here for 2 months, I've been just sucked into what we're doing here, which I'm sure you've been there. I'm sure everyone's been there, and you forget what the rest of the world's doing. But just following, Bechtel, the rest of the podcasts you've done, has been pretty cool to see. Brian Chen, right? I think
Yeah, Brian's awesome.
you just pulled him, over, and all of a sudden I realized he's like a big deal in the data center world. And I was like, okay, we're pretty stacked here with people, especially in Houston.
Yeah.
Which was really nice too. And now that we're settled here in Houston, just bought a house and all that. So now we can start to go to events, and, we're not just alone here, because it is kind of crazy just moving to a new city. There's no military base for you to, maybe I'll find people there, but Project Vanguard's kind of nice where there's a group in every major city.
Well, what is that they call it in the Navy, where like it's somebody to help you land or transition? I forget what the name is, a boatsman or something. Off to
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, you fall under the Navy. I figure you would know these things.
No, we don't.
They're
We
your
just show
branch
up
daddy.
Don't call us.
Listen, I served in a Marine sector. I get to make fun of you as much as I
That's
want.
fine.
I
That's
feel like
all right.
that's how it goes. And it goes
Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of Army people at Bechtel, so there's only a couple of Marines here that we have to like stick to ourselves, and
That's on brand, though. I feel like that's good for how y'all like to operate, though. Like, if you were the majority, it would just be out of whack.
yeah. I don't know what would happen. Be a lot of coloring.
A lot of crayons going
Yeah.
missing. Well, when you were transitioning out, I was surprised And some of the things you were asking me, we were trying to talk about professional stuff, and then you would check with me on like, "Hey, what are the neighborhoods like around there?" Right? And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, like, I can give you that because I've lived here," but I hadn't really thought about it except because I haven't moved in a while. But I mean, like, you do need some of those things that, it's the intangibles of I need to know people on the ground that see the world the way I see it so that I can get a better sense than, just the straight professional stuff. I mean, what was that like for you and your wife as y'all were trying to figure things out?
Yeah, it was, I mean, I definitely remember talking to you and then, Matt Duffy. I talked to him for quite a bit about just Houston in general, because he used to live here and everything,
Mhm.
and, that was really, like, a nice, comforting feeling because Houston is massive. I've only been here a few times when I lived in Corpus, and my wife, she grew up 2 hours away and stayed away from Houston, so both of us were like, "Alright, who do we know in Houston?" She had a few friends, and then I knew you and a few other guys. So that was just us being desperate for where do we not move? Where's the good
Yeah.
schools? Where's the HEB that we need to go to? Like simple stuff like that. Because I think in the military, they're so used to, like me, I moved between Corpus and Pensacola a bunch of times, then went to North Carolina. I knew Jacksonville, North Carolina pretty well. If I got orders anywhere else, there'd be someone I know, you know,
Yeah.
kind of give me the gouge. You don't really have that when you get out. I mean, you can stay in the same area, which is fine and comforting. You know exactly what you're getting into, but going from North Carolina to Houston was a huge jump. Even though we're closer to family, they're not in the city, so you kind of need that.
Yeah. So when you think about, this project that's going on, shifting gears back to the day job, what's kind of the field report of what's going on out there right now? So, like, they've already started pouring. What are you excited about as the next step on that project that you're going to be directly involved in?
Yeah, I mean, the owner announced the full investment decision, which is a huge jump, right? So now it's not like,
Can you talk about who the investor is or
yeah, it's Lithium America. I mean, it's very public that they own Thacker Pass. We work directly with them, and it's kind of interesting to work with the client a lot and having that interface. And I think I don't know if I just jumped in and all of a sudden I'm interacting with this client who kind of runs the show for us, and that was kind of an eye opening experience to be like, oh, my CEO answers to somebody right there. It's not just some mythical O6 in an office that you hopefully never have to go see. But here it's like daily interactions and they have priorities, they make decisions, and you kind of have to cater to what they want. So once you understand that, it's pretty nice. But yeah, so once we got that FID, we're proceeding,
and what's FID?
final investment decision.
Got it.
So, hey, the money's going to be there. It's not just them paying for the project. There's a couple loans, there's the DOE, and then there's another investment company that threw some money in it, and then GM also has a stake in it. So now you got all these people. Hey, project looks good. Here's the money. You can go ahead and proceed. So this summer is going to be a lot of the construction phase, and then we're still getting contracts in. We're still getting the labor force into the area, which is Winnemucca, Nevada. Very small town, but we're kind of have to build our own little area
Little man camp.
there. Yeah, it's called the workforce hub. So once that's really built, now we can really move people in and they can, proceed with the work.
Will there be mining and processing, or is it just mining?
Yeah, the final product out of the mine is going to be the lithium carbonate.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's
So this
pretty
could
cool.
go
Yeah.
directly to manufacturing.
Yeah, from what I have heard and read, that's the whole purpose of it, which is crazy. I think this project's really going to be a lot of interested people in it because it's the first of its kind in America. Typically you bring lithium out of sand, and this is a completely different soil it's like a clay substance. So it's pretty cool. It's one of those things like if we do it right, this could open up a lot of doors for this market.
No, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
So, I think that that's a huge piece of being able to push back on China and start to separate out the supply chain dependency we have, right? Like they were very smart and focusing on rare earth materials and then kind of cornering like the magnet supply market, which was like a very low total available market globally, but they were able to dominate that and realize that it's a linchpin in so many advanced technologies, right? And so
Yeah.
even as we try to leapfrog and get into more long duration energy storage and all these different things, having control of the supply chain and the processing is going to be critical. So it's really cool to see your place in that. I remember when we were talking about it, you're like, I'm not really in like wind or solar, so am I in, energy transition? And I was like, hell yeah, you are. You're like
Yeah.
you're at the ground floor of like the
Yeah.
energy security movement.
Yeah. And one thing that I think everyone in the energy industry should be at least considering, and I'll shout out a kid from my class, Isaac. He did a really good project on human right violations in Africa for cobalt mining.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, as challenging as this project could be, at least it's going to be done humanely, correctly, and
Right.
those issues don't get enough really news coverage because we all just assume the battery in our phone, oh, it's just an iPhone, but what goes into that really needs to be considered. And I think that's, other than the supply chain and having control of that, that's probably the most important part about this project.
No, I couldn't agree more. So, as we're kind of wrapping up, I want you to just kind of debrief your experience in making this transition out of the military, because I think that's really the crux that, when we talk to folks, this is kind of the story I want to put in front of transitioning service members. How can they learn from what you've done? So, what did you learn that you would want to absolutely do again versus what would you never want to do again?
Yeah, I'll touch on it again, but doing the move, school, and then everything with your family all at once. I had a good friend who told me, and I didn't follow his advice, but he said, don't make more than one big life change at a time. And yeah, I guess I didn't listen to him, or I thought I could be better, but, try to, get out of the military, have a plan when you get out, whether that's school or you move closer to the family or wherever you want to live, but one step at a time. It's all going to happen. And then with the job applications, you can go on LinkedIn for an hour and apply to 100 jobs, but that's not going to get your resume in front of the hiring manager. I think everyone who gets in the private sector realizes how the hiring actually works. And it's, someone who has 100 resumes, they just want five. And if they're giving it to somebody they trust, that's kind of the best way to do it. So get your name out there, go to job markets, start meeting people, start networking, and that's going to be your best bet. And then when you hit apply on LinkedIn or whatever website, they know your name's coming. That's kind of what you want. You want them to almost request you to apply to a job. So that takes a lot of work to get up there. Like, there were so many jobs I applied to, man, that I was like, oh, I'm a shoo-in. This would be easy. Well, who wouldn't want a Marine Corps, Osprey pilot to be a business development manager?
Yeah, I
And
call it the "Don't you know who I am" syndrome.
yeah, they don't. And it
Right.
was a really humbling
Exactly.
experience for me to get a job, not even a rejection letter, just an automated, yeah, you don't fit the billet here. So, but it was a good learning experience. I'm glad I went through that because it really showed me, I think everyone knows what a V-22 Osprey is. No one knows. They always ask for, what is that? Can I see a picture? Because you just get so sucked into your world, you forget what's out there. So things I would do again is definitely go to school. I think that really helped. Everyone I've talked to who's gone to either an MBA program or law school or, a program like mine, that's how you get to realize who you are, not as a service member, but just a normal person. You can see how people view you. Like,
Mhm.
it's kind of like, I thought everyone knew what a Marine was, but not everyone does. They all think we're the same. You and me, Kevin, are basically in the same branch. I know you hate that, but yeah, it's one of those, like, once I got to meet my classmates and, see how professors view you, you can kind of see your strengths and weaknesses, which is really good. And now that I'm graduated, it was a fun time. I can say that. Probably 6 months ago, I was like, this
When is
sucks.
it over?
Yeah. But yeah, those are my two biggest pieces of advice, like things I would still do or not do. But
Did you ever follow or engage with the sit reps to steer co's guys on
oh
LinkedIn?
yeah, yeah, those were all so true as well. Like everything.
So explain to whoever hasn't engaged with that brand, and by the way, if you haven't, you're missing out.
I mean, it's just a bunch of memes, either trolling people who are giving out false advertisements for coaching or I can't even explain what people put up on LinkedIn, but it's also like,
Just courses.
yeah, office memes too. Like just general day-to-day office stuff that comes up and how veterans see it. Couldn't be more true. Every
Yeah.
day I see one, I'm like, yep, that's pretty spot on.
Yeah. It's a great blend of office and military meme culture.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know the guys because they supported the Rice Veteran Business Plan competition that does battle.
Oh, awesome.
And I loved it how they were just like, listen, most people's marketing just sucks. I mean, like, we've got a message, but like, we're not beating people over the head. Like, this is something I
Yeah.
suck at with Project Vanguard is like, we stay on message, blah, blah, but like, is it entertaining? Right. I'm hoping this conversation is a little bit more entertaining than what we usually do. But yeah, we would benefit from a meme page like those cats do. But if you're trying to get into an advanced degree, MBA program, especially post-military, or just evaluating that, like go to the Sit Reps to Steer Codes page, go to their Substack, go to their podcast. They're on Instagram, I guess. Not that I am, but those guys have a really good touch on what that life is like, what it really feels like in a way that's very engaging and helps the medicine go down.
Yeah. It kind of like justifies your opinion because there's some things I'm like, am I crazy? And then I see them put something up that's kind of aligns with what I was thinking. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm not insane. Like this is weird and wrong.
Now, I try to talk a lot of vets especially, but anybody that goes to an MBA program out of consulting or banking, and it's like, listen, if I can talk you out of it, you shouldn't have gotten into it. Because the last thing you wanna do is spend 6 months in banking and then, like, you're out.
Yeah.
Like, that's not gonna help you unless you lie in your resume. But, like, if you wanna do it, go do it, but just know what that grinder is like, you know? And it's not all sunshine and, $1,000,000 paychecks.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too, if what I've realized, if you want to make the big bucks, like you're gonna be working a lot. I was talking to my boss about it because he's project manager, and everyone in the military thinks they're a project manager, but uh, no, it's you're working constantly, and everything is on you. Your name is on everything. So that was another thing too. I think vets need to understand is how their like position is translated into the civilian world. I don't think all COs are CEOs.
Right. Yeah, I love it when people translate their title from the military. They were a company commander, but it says CEO of 200-person organization. It's like, you are not gonna get fired from that job for going over budget.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized real quickly, like a project manager, that is not something I was in the Marine Corps. I was a program manager and I had my little binder and got inspected twice a year. That's not even close. Managing a budget is something I don't think anyone in the military really appreciates.
Yeah. No, 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 and I mean, like, it's not that you can't, it's just you really haven't yet.
Right. Yep. I mean, everyone can learn it. That's what I've been told. It's like, we hired you not because you have the skill set, it's because we know you could learn it. Like, we know you're going to figure it out.
You have the character set. You just haven't gotten the skill set yet, but people can
Right.
learn skills. You can't learn character.
Right. And that's the
As hard
big
as the
thing.
military tries to beat it into you or out of you.
Yeah. So that's I think other vets should probably understand too is like you have the skills. If you didn't get or if you just got honorably discharged, you didn't get in trouble or anything, like that's how you got out, you probably have the skills to succeed.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're spot on. I love your story. I think your story is a great one for transitioning or pending a transition vets that are evaluating, hey, am I getting out? How's that going to look? How do I get into this space? We have a lot of those conversations, and this is the conversation I want to send them. So, any final thoughts on that for vets that may be listening or employers that are looking at vets during their transition?
I mean, I'd say my last CO really put it to me because, once you make that decision, I'm gonna get out, you kinda like go back and forth on it because you don't wanna like leave your buddies behind or you feel like you're kinda quitting. I'm sure everyone's been through that, but he was also retiring, so it was like the best of both worlds. I mean, he said, "Everyone gets out eventually, even the commandant. Everyone goes through this. You're just going through it a little bit earlier than I am." So, and then once you get out, you quickly realize like, okay, I'm not a quitter. I'm okay doing what is best for my family essentially, or whatever life decisions you got. So
Yeah, when I got out, I was like, man, I've only done one combat deployment. Like, I only have 15 months in combat. Like, what a
yeah,
what a piece of crap. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, like now there's not really that many active things happening. And so it sounds kind of weird, but at the time I was like, everybody I knew had 2 or 3 deployments. Like,
Yeah.
you did 1. Okay, now you're warmed up.
Yeah. And I think everyone leaves thinking they left something on the table. I know I struggled through that over the last years. Like, man, I could have gone further. I could have been, whatever. But ultimately, you're going to get out eventually. You either do it early and start a job early, or you get out and retire and collect a paycheck for the rest of your life. But there's no wrong answer, in my opinion.
So, what do you think were the biggest things that helped you or you rely on since you've transitioned from your military experience? Like, what are the big things you've taken with you so far?
Just in terms of experience in the military translating or any
Yeah.
resources. Okay.
Yeah, just skill sets. I mean, like, what have you leaned on the most?
Definitely just decision making. I think that's a lot of people who don't have a military background are not afraid to make a decision, but they want to make like that perfect decision, but they don't realize they might not ever get there. So like, I mean, I hopped in, I was like, oh, 80% solution. I kept saying that to people because that's just what we've all learned, right? And sometimes it's a little uncomfortable for people who haven't experienced that before, because if you don't make a decision, then it's the wrong decision, right? So I think just taking the information you have in hand and going with it and then adjusting on the way, that was really something I brought from the military. The other thing is just communicating with people. We usually don't bring drama to work. We just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So I haven't even touched it or seen it at the office. And then interfacing with the client too has been not as bad as I thought. There's a lot of pressure because they're looking at you. You feel like you're being evaluated constantly
Mhm.
because they're just waiting for the answers. And if you don't have them, they can hold you accountable for it. But, I got in the first, week or two, I'm interfacing with my counterpart on the client side. And, how can I make your life easier? Is there any changes that you want me to make? Like, and just being open to change.
Oh, man, these are great lessons. So, Tim, thanks for making the time today. I know you're busy. You're fresh at it. Apologize to everyone at Bechtel and thank them for letting me steal you for an hour.
Yeah, I'll make it up later tonight. So don't worry.
They'll get their pound of flesh.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I hope you're open to some follow-ups. When folks are asking, you're definitely on my list of people I want to be able to send people to get a really good insight. It's been so long since I transferred out of the military, transitioned out. I'm just not the best resource on what's currently going on. So, as we continue to grow Project Vanguard, having guys and gals like you that can really have that near term lived experience, I think is just a great part of our community to help grow it and help people successfully transition the industry.
Yeah. Happy to pay it forward. It's been such a help for me. Like it'd only be right for me to try to help the next people.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks so much for making the time today. We'll be in touch soon.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Project Vanguard podcast. If this episode sparked something for you, share it with someone who's ready to think differently, whether it's about an all the above energy approach, how energy security is national security, or the veteran workforce in our industry. If you believe what we're building, a quick review goes a long way. You can do that wherever you get your podcasts. And until next time, keep up the fire.